But hey, welcome back, everybody. Episode 2 of the MANXIETY podcast with Mick Thomas,
Corey Brooks.
First of all, before we go any further, big thank you to the response for the first episode.
The response was great. The response was fantastic. I keep checking the numbers. I have OCD with that lately.
Oh, you do?
Oh, it's just a great feeling to know that we're touching people out there without touching people.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
touching the hearts of people out there. It's pretty cool, and all the feedback I've been getting on my end. I know you've been getting a lot of great feedback as well.
I've been getting a lot on mine. People are being. You can hear me okay?
Yeah.
I felt I kicked the wire, but it's fine.
We're good.
But yeah, it's so thank you, everybody. And we're on YouTube. We're on wherever you get your podcast from. If you want to look at our 2 dumb faces on YouTube, you can head over there, check it out. But yeah, so and again, the premise of our podcast is a MANXIETY. It is a pro men podcast for men's mental health. It's not anti-women. It is pro men.
Yes.
But we do welcome the ladies on as listeners, and maybe you guys can listen, learn something, maybe give us our feedback. Now, do we set up an email address for people?
We do have an email address for us. It is email us at ihavemanxiety.com. That is email us at ihaveanxiety.com.
So you have to say email us, or you're telling them
it's telling them that is the name of it. Email us.
Okay.
At ihaveanxiety.com.
Because if you said just email us, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do that.
I knew that's what the effect it was going to have, but I figured that would be a great thing.
So the email is email us at manxiety.
At ihavemanxiety.com.
ihavemanxiety.com.
Yes.
All right. So if you have any questions, send it to me. I just, again, finished this week. I still didn't get my actual credentials this week yet. So
all right. So I'm going to hit stop record. We'll see you guys next. No.
So yeah. And just like everything, you and I are not doctors.
No.
And anything we say on this episode is our personal opinion. A lot of it is backed up with actual facts that has been researched. And like I said, I am a qualified counselor, but I just haven't got any of my credentials yet to wave about. So if you are in trouble in any way whatsoever, please reach out to your doctor. Especially with the episode we'll talk about today, it might be a little bit triggering for a lot of people.
Yes.
Reach out you can contact the suicide hotline or
number below.
Oh, you do that? You've been
yes,
the number come up?
Putting the number below, of course.
Wow, see, I'm way out of my league. Number down below. And also, what's a big one, which I didn't know, which I never, not that I didn't know, but I never would have dawned on me, 911. 911 is a perfect number you can call also.
Yeah.
All those people over there are trained to deal with. So if you're in yourself in any trouble, and especially look at this time of year is a hard time of year for a lot of people. 'Tis the Christmas week.
It is the Christmas week. It's it is a very tough time. People buying gifts, have to buy gifts for people. People out there trying to do the best they can for their kids. You see on the news and all that all the time. There's a lot of places that you can go to get help with that, free toy drives and stuff like that, and food drives. And
yeah, a lot of people put themselves under pressure this time of year for, to try to keep up with their kids' demands.
Yeah. Which are getting, they get bigger as the kid gets bigger.
Yeah, stop them. Just stop them in their tracks.
That's it.
So the thing I want to talk about today was, just checking there. Okay, the thing I want to talk about today was the documentary about Kevin Hines. And I mentioned it briefly last week.
You did, and I was able to see 20 minutes of it. It was actually a hard documentary to find, and Amazon pulled it, believe it or not. Okay. So I don't know why. There could be underlying reasons why they pulled it, or maybe he just pulled it off of that platform. I'm not sure, but I did see 20 minutes of it. Even the 20 minutes of that documentary was very compelling. It's very touching. It's a very wild story what he went through.
Yeah, and even
through the first 20 minutes.
If you watch on, like you said, you go to YouTube, type in his name, Kevin Hines, Hines, not HY. You will get the whole gist of the story and the message behind it.
Yeah.
But if you want to dive deeper, obviously, I can't remember. I don't know where you find the full episode now if Amazon took it down.
Yeah.
But by all means. So what did you, if I not to put you on the spot, but what did you get from it? Do you want to tell the story?
So it was this gentleman, I can't remember his age at the time that he did this. Okay. So he actually jumped off of the Golden Gate Bridge and miraculously survived.
Right.
Which is wild enough.
Which is over 200 feet.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's over 200 feet.
Insane that he wasn't paralyzed from the fall.
Right.
But he had massive regret from doing so. And even the mark that it left on his father, because in the first 20 minutes, you get to see, him tell the story about how he did it. And these are the points that stuck with me.
Right.
And him being in the hospital, and waking up out of the coma, I guess, that he was in, and apologizing nonstop. I'm sorry. And his father walks in and sees him on that, and he's apologizing to his father, and the father's like, no, I'm sorry.
Right.
Which brings back to what we spoke about last week on how, when you do an act like that, how it, no matter what note or anything you leave, the people you leave behind are always going to think it's their fault. And I also I know he ended up getting diagnosed with bipolar syndrome,
right?
Which played a part, which I'm sure you'll touch more on. And it was also crazy to me because in his sophomore year, he was like the top wrestler, always coming in smiling, all that stuff. And the next year, it just completely changed.
Right.
So it's not something that you necessarily carry your whole life. It can, but your mind can I don't know. But I think you should touch on the subject a little bit more because I unfortunately didn't get a chance to watch the whole documentary as you did.
Well, what did it for me? The longer version of and you basically told what happened on it, but the more detailed version of the story, and I'll tell the story quickly. Well, not quickly. I'll tell the story respectfully, and then I'll go back over the things that, like you just said, what kind of his father, right? His father saying he was sorry, and that's what was that stayed with you. I can't even think of words today. So he got up in the morning and he knew he was going to do it, right? And he walked into his father's bedroom and his dad was like, "Kevin, are you okay?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." He goes, "You sure?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm fine." He said, "All right, well, I love you, and I'm here if you need me." And he walked out the door. He got on the bus to go to the Golden Gate Bridge, and on the bus he was crying, he was nervous, he was terrified. There was people making fun of him on the bus, like kind of this guy fucking pissing and moaning, right?
Right.
And then he went to get off the bus, and he stopped at the edge of the bus. And the driver said, "Can you just get off the bus, please? You're holding up my whatever." So he got off the bus. So before I go any further, that part there is what broke my heart the most because he went looking for help.
Right.
Right. He went looking for help and he didn't know how to ask for it. And that's what fucking depression does to you, man. You don't feel worthy of help. Right. So you walk into a room and he wanted his dad to just stop him without telling. Now, of course, you can never do that. Right. You don't know what's going on. Like you said, he's always smiling. He was, he had everything going for him. He was champion. He was a wrestler. He was an athlete, popular kid. So he had everything going for him. But that's the part. Like, so he was on the bus saying that he wanted somebody on that bus to just ask him, was he okay to stop him? So it's like he almost knew he didn't want to do it, but he knew he had to do it. And that's the messed up thing. That's when you, like, the voices in your head take over, right? And when you hear a voice in your head, right, which again, I'll get into some of my personal experience. They're not like, it's not people when you hear that, like, oh, the voices told me, you're like, oh, this person's crazy, he's hearing voices. That's not what people mean. At least from my experience, it's not like you hear weird, wacky, it's not Bane.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't drop off the bridge. You know what I mean? It's not like, you're the Batman. You think darkness is your ally. You merely adopted the dark. I was born, whatever. They're not the voices you hear. The voices are, you're useless. The voices are, just go ahead and do it. And for him, that voice was saying to him, nobody gives a shit. Because his dad sent them away, even though his dad gives a shit. The people on the bus, they just had no idea.
Right.
And he thought that if he stopped at that step and said to the driver, like, he didn't say anything to the driver, he just assumed the driver would go, yeah, let me stop this guy from doing it. He doesn't look right. The driver didn't give a shit. The driver's going through the motions of his own life. Right. He's a bus driver. No disrespect for anybody who takes the bus, in America at least, because in other countries, the buses, different type of people ride the bus all the time. But usually in America, it's kind of a different level of, it's not that many business people take the bus, right? It's usually, but whatever. So the bus driver's probably used to just dealing with, you don't know if it was the end of the day, the end of his shift. Maybe he did the night shift. This is the first bus his last bus it was the first bus in the morning, but it was his last bus of his shift.
Right.
So in his head, he just not assumed, but he hoped that the bus driver would go,
yep,
hey man, are you okay? Right. So that's the part that broke my heart. Do you know what I mean? That the fact that but he's like, all right, I'm here now. I might as well go ahead and do it.
Which is crazy because that also shows you as I was talking about his father going in and apologizing, because you don't know if he was younger and the father was like, be a man, be tough, Barry, don't cry, don't do it. He was a wrestler, right?
Right.
So that shows you that he was afraid to maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's not everybody, but he was afraid to ask for help because it's been instilled in him since he was a young man.
Right. And he's in shape.
Right? And he's in shape.
He's in shape. So he gives off the traditional, air quotes, kind of like what a man looks like, right?
Right.
A big tough man.
Right.
Because he's got muscles on. He's got, you know what I mean? He's an athlete.
But this is always the same size for everybody.
Of course, that's that your brain is your brain, and it's like I said last week. You walked with a limp, someone would tell you get that fixed, right? But nobody knows what's going on inside your head.
Exactly.
So that was the part that killed me. So then he went up. He put his hand on the railing of the spot. He took a few steps back. He ran and he jumped over the railing. Right now, he fell over 200 feet. To the water, which is like hitting concrete, and he shattered his...
He landed feet first, right?
Feet first. He shattered his legs. Again, I hope I'm not remembering that wrong. He broke his leg, and he definitely shattered something in his spine.
Yep.
Right? So he started to sink because he was full of... He's wearing work boots, which fill up with water quick. So he went 70 feet down under the water, and he swam straight up with the use of no legs. Because the second he jumped, and this is the part that... This is why this story is so important for people to watch. If you're going through a bad time, or if you've got someone in your family that you think is going through a bad time, that's why this story is so important to watch, is because the second his fingers left the railing, what did I do? Like, I made a mistake. And the whole way down, he prayed. He said, I'm sorry, God, I made a mistake. I don't want to die. And he said it as many times it takes him to say that. By the time he hits the water, shattered something in his spine, his legs are broke, and he swam to the top, 70 feet back to the surface, saying it the whole time. I'm sorry, God, I made a mistake. I'm sorry, God, I don't want to die. I'm sorry, God, I don't want to die. People were looking over the bridge. Obviously, people stopped and saw what was going on. And the part which was kind of cool, which if you are religious or if you have some sort of faith in your life, I'm not saying I don't, I'm not saying I do, I'm not saying any of that stuff, is that he felt something. Did you see that part where he felt something slimy against him?
No, I missed that.
So he's drowning. He comes up for his breath.
Yep.
God, I don't want to die. I'm sorry. Goes right back under. Pulls himself up again. He's getting heavier. He's getting more tired. People are looking at him. He knows he's going to go under. So as he's in the water trying to come back up, come back down, come back up, come back down. He's trying to stay afloat. Every time he's asking God to help him. He feels something slimy against him.
Okay.
And he's like, shit, now I'm going to get fucking eaten by a shark on top of all this. Right. Because it's shark infested water, San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Not infested, right? That was that was one of the reasons why a lot of people didn't swim from Alcatraz.
Right.
Because of the sharks, right? So he said he felt this thing slimy against him. He's like, I'm going to get eaten by a shark. It turned out this thing was kept circling and circling, which created a kind of and kind of was able to keep him afloat. Right. Really? And it was a sea line.
That is wild.
And the sea line kept him afloat.
That's pretty...
Yeah, the sea line kept him afloat. And he didn't make this up because people were up on top looking down at him. Right. So the sea line kept him afloat. And the Coast Guard came, got him out straight to the hospital. And that's when his dad came in. And his dad, he said, Dad, I'm sorry. And his dad was like, no, Kevin, I'm sorry. Yeah. So then his dad promised him everything was going to be fine. A year later to the date, they go back. Right, they go back. They go to a police station, right? Where I guess where they helped him, and they took a flower from the police memorials outside, the cops memorial, and he went back to the bridge. And his dad said, "Where's the place you jumped? Show me the exact same place." So he brought him to the exact same spot, and he said, "You want to drop this flower, and this is going to be the end of it, and it's just a way of putting closure on it. We're going to move forward." And so he held out the flower. He said it was, I think it was a purple one with gold in. Yeah, it was purple and gold. The reason I remember that because like Wexford colors, my hometown. And he said he dropped the flower, and he said when the flower hit the water, right, this like ripple effect obviously happened.
Right.
And he said the sea line popped right back up like 2 feet from it.
That's
wild. Again, you might sit there home like that sounds like shit. Whatever you want to say. That's whatever you want to say. It's a beautiful part to the story, and
very.
And there's just so much to be learned from his story, right? It's just like,
even that 20 minutes, it was mind opening, and it just, as I said, it hit me when the father went in, because it's like me and you're a father as well.
Sure.
It puts in perspective maybe some of the things. So I have a 4-year-old, and what I tell him, it's like you don't want him to be over babyish, I guess. You don't want to cry over every little thing,
right?
But you also want to tell him it's fine to express his emotions. You know, and especially at his age right now, it's like when they're upset and they're angry, they don't want to talk to you and they want to go punch something,
right?
You know, so it's like that's my job, is to make sure that he never gets to that point. Like I always want him to be open with me and tell me something's upsetting him. I guess that's just it's different too as a father of a girl or a father of a you got both, right?
Yeah,
you have a son and you have a daughter.
Yeah.
And you want to raise that. You have to raise them both differently now, right? So that's in your head. I feel like certain aspects of life you got to protect each one of them from differently,
right?
You know,
the problem with the difference for
not to
me,
get off sidetracked here.
No, for me, raising a boy versus raising a girl, it's like I don't know anything I'm talking about when it comes to a girl. Only my own life, only what's if I have wisdom from a story, but I can't express what she's feeling. I can't put myself into the situation, what she's feeling. But him, the problem with him is my son is like, all right, I'm basically helping me. Like, it's like, how would I want to be helped when I was a kid?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I tell him it's okay to cry. I tell him that all the time. It's like, it's fine to cry. But what are we crying about? You know, and tantrums? No, that's different, right?
Yeah.
You don't mean you go out there and you let your kids run all over you, cry over just because they don't get their way. But you know, it's okay to cry.
Yep.
You know, so they learn different. But so going back to the story of Kevin, is that's the huge issue, right? Is the fact that he wanted help, right? And you know, he didn't know how to ask for it, and he was almost that stubborn, where he's like, all right, I guess no one's helping me. I guess I got to do it then.
Right. He thought that him walking off of that bus, people would see his face. There would be a sign that would stop him. The bus driver would say, hey, why are you getting off here?
Right.
You know, but after he jumped, I'm sure too, that bus driver watched the news that night or whatever, if he didn't stay there. And, you know, it was like, I could have helped him or stopped him. But that happens with a lot of things with us, right? As you said, that's.
There's a ripple effect.
There's a ripple effect. Exactly.
That goes, the ripple effect, that goes. And the thing about suicide is I said it last week, it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. But what suicide does is it's almost like remember The Exorcist? Did you ever watch that movie?
Yeah.
So at the end of The Exorcist, spoiler alert, it was made in the 70s. If you haven't seen it by now, sorry. He says to the girl, what was the girl? Was it Raven? The girl's name in it? I think it was Raven.
It might have been. I don't remember.
People are screaming at their screens right now.
Especially me.
Yeah. And he says, you know, leave her alone, get in, take me instead, get in. So he takes that curse into himself and he throws himself out the window. So if you commit suicide, like, it doesn't go away. That pain you're feeling is now somebody else's problem. Right. Now it's everyone else in your life. It's why did I let it happen? Right. Is it my fault? Right. Why didn't I do enough? I should have said this. Was this a sign I didn't know? Right? Was this a sign I didn't know? And the problem with that is like, it's not their fault. No. Right? It's not their fault. It's like, if that happened to someone in your life, right, you will blame yourself. I'm talking about if it's someone's close to you, you will absolutely blame yourself at some stage along the way. Mm-hmm. The people I lost in my life to suicide, I hadn't seen them in years and years. Right. So I'm reasonable enough to know that just because I didn't, like, if I'd have reached out of nowhere to say hello, right, like, I just know for a fact I wasn't fixing that person's problem. So that was sad to lose them, but it's not someone that's immediately in my life, right? Right. So if I were to lose someone immediately in my life, I would immediately go, that's my fault. But the thing is, I wouldn't blame someone else. Right. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you and I had a mutual friend that took his own life, and then I would blame myself, right? He's a good friend of ours. But I wouldn't blame you, even though you're blaming yourself, and you wouldn't blame me. Right. So that's right. The problem, you know. Yep. It's horrific, man. And you know, the problem, like, not the problem, but one of the things they feel everyone's better off without them. I've got nothing to live for. There's so many different reasons. People commit suicide because just things get hard, and there's not necessarily. I don't even want to downplay it and say there's no mental illness there. There's got to be some. But like, even when the stock market crashed in 2008.
Oh, those guys that were jumping out of buildings.
Jump from buildings, because I'm not saying they didn't have mental health, but they just had built up such a lifestyle based on finances that they just would rather than pick up the phone and call these people. They knew everything they had worked hard for is gone. They didn't know how to rebuild from scratch. So they'd rather just jump. That doesn't necessarily mean they didn't struggle with mental illness, but it just sounds like they panicked. Their life as they knew it was over when really wasn't, when you got to rebuild. And that's the importance of, and I say this all the time, it's almost, and I use this as an example. If you're on an airplane, right, and they announce this every week, every flight, if the oxygen mask falls down, blah, 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 make sure you put your own on first before you tend to a child, because you cannot help your child or anybody else unless you take care of yourself. Right. So that's the same. That's why it's so important that we build ourselves up as men.
It's well said.
Right. It's how we build ourselves up. Right. And as I go to the gym, it's not I want to look like Thor. Right. I don't want to have, I mean, it would be nice to look like Thor. Let's not act like we don't want that. But, you go to the gym because it's when you build yourself up, not physically, but yes, that helps. Right. But if you build yourself up physically to the point where you almost change your image, you can't fake that.
No, you can't.
Right? You can't fake that. You can get a Lamborghini, right?
Right.
You can get a scratch off, get enough money to win a Lamborghini, to buy a Lamborghini. You buy that Lamborghini, and I guarantee you the feeling will not be the same as if you turned yourself around physically at the gym, right? Because you fucking earned that. You earned the living shit of that. You controlled what you put into your body. It was all you. You can't fake any of that shit.
That's all hard work that you've done for yourself. And you go to the gym, and what is everybody doing? They're all looking in the mirror, right?
Oh God, yeah.
I know you may hate that, but all those people, it's rewarding for them mentally to see what they've become, how hard they've worked to get those muscles. Not everybody. I mean, listen, there's some people maybe take shortcuts out there, but I really, when you see the before pictures of somebody that's very, very big, very out of shape, and they've done the hard work, and you're like, fucking flex in that mirror, take a picture of yourself in the mirror, do whatever. You know what I mean? You've worked, you've earned that.
I agree.
You've earned that. And you know that they're not doing it to say, look at me, I'm going to get so much ass by how I look right now. That's not what they're doing. It's just like, look, I worked so hard.
There's some doing that.
All right.
I'm an ass magnet now. Look at me.
Look at me. I guess a little bit. And
look at that.
Rightfully so too, though, right? If you spend your whole life overweight like that, and you've dealt with bullying, I'm sure. And all that shit, and you've gotten out of that, and now you're like, I look fucking good, and I'm going to own it, and I'm going to be a little cocky about it, and I guess you earn that right a little bit. You do. But the point is like of building yourself up, because here's the thing, right? If you don't have anybody in your life to live for, right? And this is the thing, right? If you don't have anybody in your life to live for, then make yourself so fucking awesome that you're going to live for that guy. Right.
Or that girl for the women, listen. Right? Build yourself up so much that you want to be there for that guy. Not you can have self-hate, self-doubt, you can do all that, but if you put the work in, that you're like, all right, I got to be around for him. Because for me, dealing with depression my whole life, I had a few incidents in my life where the first one was we've all played the kill yourself game. There's not one person out there that's not guilty of it.
Right.
Meaning that if you had to kill yourself, how'd you do it? Right. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's always, but the person who just goes, stand in front of a train, just has the answer too quickly.
Yeah.
Right? Then you're like, I'm going to keep an eye on John. Right? Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
But we've all played that game. So to the point where I remember being back in Ireland at a family member's wedding, my kids were tiny. And suicide was always on my mind to the point where I would never do it. But it's always like, I don't want to die, but I don't want to be here.
Right.
And that's what went through my mind a lot. And I remember we were all getting ready at my brother's house for this wedding. My son was tiny, so he had a tiny, tiny suit on. So I remember going down the stairs and he was leaning against the couch and he was watching cartoons, dumb Irish cartoons.
Okay.
And he was in a suit. And there's only 2 times, right, when you see kids, like little kids wear suits, right? And that's at a wedding,
right,
or a funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're never wearing it to.
No, then there's no other reasons for them, you know?
You mean you might really want to
maybe a communion.
Make your kid look dapper, like a 4-year-old at a communion. You might want to make your kid look dapper. I get it. Because it's like boss baby. But but let's be honest, right? So you're kind of really dressing, the kids wear that stuff for either a wedding or a funeral. And I remember just looking down and going, that's what he would wear to my funeral.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm not doing it. I will never do it. So life went on. I never addressed anything to do with my mental illness, never went to therapy. Why didn't I go to therapy? I'll tell you why I didn't go to therapy is because I had this weird theory, which is, it turned out I found it in a book years later. I wasn't the one that came up with it. Freud actually came up with it too.
Okay.
Is that if you go through depression or you're in a bad place of depression, you go, shit, I need therapy.
Right.
I need therapy. And then you come out of therapy. Then you come out of your cloud of depression. And then you're like, I feel good now. I don't need therapy.
Right.
Right. So when you are depressed, you feel like you're not worthy of help. So you're not going to get help in the middle of your depression.
Right.
For me, at least, right? For you might be different. Other people might be different. So then when you come out of it, you're like, well, I don't need help anymore because I'm fine. So you're neglecting therapy because number one, you don't think you're worthy of it when you genuinely need it. But then when you're fine, it's like, well, I don't need it because I'm fine.
Because I'm fine. So why would I go back?
So I got no help. I got no help, had nobody to reach out to. I couldn't communicate properly. I'm not blaming anybody else in my life for anything of me not being able to communicate. I just couldn't. I'm not blaming anybody for not being there for me. I just couldn't communicate the pain I was in.
Right.
Right. And I'm a pretty articulate fella. Like I know how to talk better than anybody. Right.
You do. I'll give you that. But
right?
but that's a different story because you're trying to express all this emotion that's built up in your brain, and it's very hard to. It's hard to express it. I can't do it. Right. I can try so hard. I can't do it. You know, it's very hard to express what's all the thing that's in your mind. It's like you have all these things. It's like a firework in your head, right? It's like It goes off, and when it blows up, it's in different pieces along the sky, right? It's everywhere, and you want to get all that out at one point. It's like at one time. It's hard to.
It's hard to express it. Plate spinning.
Exactly.
At a circus.
Exactly.
You're just running.
It's just you're running, trying to hold the plates.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, but I got worse and worse and worse, and I can handle it. I'm fine. I would go to the gym more and more because I was lucky. I was very, very, not that I was lucky, but I felt lucky at the point that when I had depression, there's two types of ways for it, right? There's probably more than two, but there's two main ones. Number one, you will never get out of bed. You will just lie in bed. You have no motivation to do anything. Right. You don't want to have conversations with people. You don't want to talk, or you can be the way I had it, where I just would spring out of bed. I had to keep busy to keep my mind busy, right? So I would get up the crack of dawn. I would go boxing. I would meet you in the gym. I would be up at 4 a.m. to go boxing. I would go running like crazy for no reason whatsoever. I would work and I would work and I would work on comedy and jokes and stuff and take gigs that were miles and miles away. And, and I would take dumb gigs and stuff like that. So because I was just lucky, it just got built in, my depression built in this work ethic that was, not really good because it took me away from people, but I'm kind of rambling a little bit here, but I was lucky enough that it didn't turn me into a ball of mush,
right.
But I still had all the side effects. I got worse. I became very hateful, right? I would talk politics because I knew how to argue. Like I could make someone feel dumb because I was good at talking, right? Like I could go whatever your belief was in politics, and I don't have any.
Right.
I think all politics is bullshit. I don't believe any politicians. I've never picked a side, but I could argue against either side just to start an argument, right? I was just an unhappy person, and I would tell people I was an atheist. Right. When I would tell myself I was an atheist, when deep down I knew I wasn't. Like I knew I believed in God.
Yep.
Right. But I would tell people I didn't, just so I could
get that reaction. Yeah.
Oh, you believe in that, do you? Okay. Anyway, because I'm smarter than you, because I read more, and it was just, I was very hateful, and you could watch something like Curb Your Enthusiasm, right? And people go, that's just like you, and I'm like, no, he's curious,
right?
Right. And I'm just an asshole. Right. And I remember I just didn't want it anymore. And I remember driving home from a show late at night. It was about 1 a.m. I was coming back from, I don't know where, obviously far, because it's 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the Southern State Parkway. If you don't live on New York, it's just this open parkway late at night. And I was doing about 80, I would think. And I was driving, and I was like, fuck it. And I just went straight up onto the grass, straight for a tree.
Really?
And at the last second, I just turned the wheel. I don't know why I turned the wheel. I don't remember making the decision to turn the wheel. Maybe flight or fright or flight, was it? Fight or flight took over. And
do you believe in guardian angels?
I don't know if I believe in guardian actual angels. I do believe in God, but
right.
I don't know if I believe in I get assigned one guy. Because if I do, that fucking guy is working so hard, man. That poor guy, I would not want that job. That guy deserves a raise if he's my guardian angel. But, you know, and I remember I pulled over and I had a breakdown and I thought that was it. I'm good now. Like I'm out of my system. And then it got worse and worse. I got angry and angrier. I took on stuff in my life that wasn't good.
Right.
And then my last one is when I realized I needed help was I was home alone. And I'm not going to go into details of it because it, believe it or not, it gives people ideas, right? And I don't want to do that.
Yeah, nope.
But I remember, and I can tell you off air, but I remember trying to find a big piece of paper and a marker in my house so I could put on the basement door, don't come down here, call 911.
Wow.
Right. And I don't know if it was the fact that
you got that far to that.
I don't know if it's the fact that if I happened to have a Sharpie and a notepad on me, we wouldn't be doing this podcast right now. But again, there were voices in my head that were just, some were saying, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And then the other voices were like, yeah, you're fine. You're going to be fine. Let's just do it. It'll be fine. You know, and then everything comes at you once, like your family, you know, your wife and kids, what are they going to be left with? And then you go like, yeah, but you're insured for a lot of money. Financially, they're fucking great. You're going to be much better off with them.
But they're not. They're not.
They're not at all. Right?
They're
not at all. So you tell yourself that and you're like, yeah, but don't do it. And you're like, yeah, but then, you know what I mean? You don't have to deal with this shit anymore. And it's like, but they don't care. They're better off without you. You argue too much with your daughter or whatever. Or went through a stage where anything I said pissed my off. But then like the other part of your brain is like, the other voice is going, yeah, but she's just a teenager. She's supposed to argue with you. No, she doesn't like me anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My son doesn't respect me because of the jokes. Yeah, but you joke with him in that way. That's why he jokes back with you that way. And you have all these things at once. And I just remember, I walked out and I just sat in the back behind my shed and I gotta get help. And I just opened up and I gotta get help and I have to get everything out of my life that's not good, no matter what it is. If it's people, if it's social media, if it's movies, because movies and TV, right, can
like trigger you, right?
It's not,
sponge, and then there's certain things you see that you like.
But if you digest war, if you digest depression, if you digest movies like Requiem for the Dream, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
Never seen that one.
Don't watch it. Okay. Don't watch it because it's great acting, great script, phenomenal cast.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Jennifer Connelly, Jared Leto, one of the Wayans brothers. I'm so sorry. I sound disrespectful. I think it's Marlon Wayans.
Okay.
Right. Just such a great cast. It's such a great, well-written movie, but it's like depressing. And so then if you put that on and then you put another one on and it's like, or Schindler's List goes on after Escape from Sobibor goes on after that, right? You watch the Serbian movie, which never watch that. Don't even Google it. The Serbian film, it's called, right? And you watch those one after another. It's just, you're consuming
depressiveness.
Misery. Right. And then it's like, fuck it, let me watch Kevin Hart movies. Like Kevin Hart and The Rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but I knew I had to get help.
And you received help. You went and got help, right?
I got help and it's the best. And I've only since then slowly, I did it respectfully, some not so respectfully, but I cut everything out of my life.
Right.
That has been weighing me down. Now I still have depression. Don't get me wrong, but I just know how to deal with it a healthier way. Because the way I used to deal with it was I would ruminate. What ruminating is, it's like, look, there's a saying Winston Churchill had. I don't know if he's right or he's wrong. If you're in hell, just keep on going. Right? You're already in hell. You might as well keep going. You're going to get out of it eventually, right? That's what Winston Churchill said.
So do you look, I'm cutting you off.
No, please, go ahead.
Do you look at depression or kind of conquering it, even though you deal with it day to day, as like a sobriety kind of thing, almost on the same level of it? Like if somebody goes through sobriety, it's like a day by day basis. Right? Yeah,
it is. You treat it like almost like an addiction,
right?
You know, and I'm just so thankful for coming out, and I will always have. I know now because of how to fix myself, and it's just funny that I went through all this training over the last 2 years too, just out of because it's. You know, not that I wanted to fix myself, type of thing. But I found the whole conversation, the whole topic fascinating. But I think I'll always be depressed for my whole life. It's not every day, by the way. But when it comes, I know how to deal with it now. And I know I can confidently say I'm not in danger anymore. Right. So now I will open up. You know what I mean? Like if I don't feel good, believe it or not, like I'll and the hardest thing to do is just tell my wife the simplest things. Like I just don't feel good. I feel insecure because you did this today and blah, blah, blah. Right. Not saying it's
true, but
not saying that the people around me did something wrong.
Right.
But I'm insecure because of the way I'm looking at it. The old way of me dealing with it was I would ruminate, and I used to give myself credit for this. And ruminate was I'd have something in my head, I feel depressed. Okay, your comedy career, your comedy is shit. Right. So now I would just keep telling myself I would get to rock bottom. Once you get to rock bottom, well, you can only go up from rock bottom. Right. So my depression, instead of trying to stay afloat above the depression, I would go right to the bottom. And once I hit the bottom, it's like, well, all I can do is go up now. And that's why my depression bouts would last X amount of time.
Which is good because you hit rock bottom, but you never bury yourself under the rock.
Right. But I force myself down there, which is not healthy, I don't think. Right. And so instead of me going, I'll give you an example, like stand-up comedy, right? Like, yeah, you're not funny because all these other guys have all these specials, right? I'm looking at their social media, which I don't do anymore. They're all on TV. They're doing this, that, the other. But then when I talk to them off, when they're all these guys who are on TV and I talk to them, they're just like, suffering and they're not doing well with comedy and they just happen to get that one show. And
because certain things have, I guess, when you start to see, because that's how everybody thinks, right? Like, look how good this person's doing. Right. How are they doing this good? What's wrong with me that they're doing this good? But you never know behind that curtain as to why or what the gain is to have that person, the political, right? Everything's political in life. Yeah. Everything is political in life. So there's some reason why this person may have made it over you. You know, you're a very, 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 very funny guy. And if nobody out there has ever seen his stand up or watched his podcast, this is one of the most funniest guys I know, professional guys out there. And it's just, even just to go watch you at a show, you know what I mean? But you and everybody else, when they have a craft that they want to perfect, you're going to be hard on yourself. And there's nothing wrong with being hard on yourself because you always want to do better. It's a problem when you think that you've done good enough when reality you're shit. You know what I mean? That's where the problem is. So it's fine to beat yourself up a little bit and to never, you just got to never bring yourself that low where you think everybody around you. And I get to that point sometimes too, where I'm like, wow, everybody around me is doing this and doing that. And why am I not? You know, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm trying to bust my ass to do that and do that. But then you got to stop and you got to think, what's going on in your life versus what's going on in someone else's life, and then you can see why they may be where they are versus where you are. Right. You know, and just to see the bigger picture and reality of things, because it's in the life we live right now. It's just, and with social media and everything, it's your job to try to. It's not your job. It's to make you almost just try to be better than that other person, your best friend, that person, her, him, your best friend, your family. It's like something that everybody has now that's out there. I mean, you scroll through social media, right? It's like, I got to be better than that person. Now that person got a house, shit. Now I got to go buy they got a 3-bedroom. I got to go buy a 6-bedroom. It's like, it's crazy now.
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I mean, that's probably another topic of conversation. And I know I get off topic sometimes here.
No, that's fine. It's an open book, but we'll do another episode on social media soon. But, but I said it before, social media is just people's highlight reels.
It's really what it is. And the grass isn't always green on the other side. You know what I mean? It's like they found, some people find that patch of, see, here we go again about the social media. But all right, we'll end it after this. But some people find that one patch of grass in their 40-acre yard that's very green, and they take a picture in front of that. Right. You know, but everything else is dying around it.
No, I agree.
If that makes sense.
No, I've posted pictures of myself on these big, massive stages, right? Thousands of people in the audience. But I never showed the journey to get there, the stuck in traffic, the suicidal thoughts of like, fuck.
Not to laugh at you.
No, I know what you're saying. But going back to it, I think, listen, so now that I've got help, what I've done is I've surrounded myself with great people, like people that only.
I hope I'm one of them. That's why we're here.
You are. That's why I'm here, man. I have no problem saying that. You know, I've only tried to surround myself with great, positive people. You know, you've got to build yourself up, right? So with that, I surround myself with great people, and I have plenty of resources now. So I go to therapy, and some of the therapy, by the way, is just like, you know, what's bothering me this week, and you'd be surprised, and then that triggers a conversation of, anything that could just trigger a conversation, right? About your childhood, and all of a sudden, wow, that's what I said therapy is like, you got to dig.
Yep.
So the thing is, what you got to look at, right, is if you look at it at a scale, right, people with depression are always going to have depression, just the way you are. I'm sorry.
As you taught me, it's clinical, right?
It can be clinical, but you're probably always going to deal with depression your whole life. Doesn't mean you're going to suffer every day. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But if you have a scale, right, this is the way I like to look at it. If you have a scale, you have your depression and then you have your resources. You want your resources to outweigh your depression,
right?
Meaning good friends.
I'm with you.
I have a therapist. I have an outlet. I build myself up with this one. These are all the things I like. These are my resources versus the depression. You do not want to have no resources,
right?
Because your depression will win.
Yep.
And that's what I said, going back to earlier, and we kind of went off topic, but about building yourself up. I did that to the point where I just worked out a bit. It's like I challenged myself mentally, right? I went out and I started running. I heard an audiobook, and I've told a story a bunch of times. I was running 7 miles, which is the most I've ever run in my life, was 7 miles. And I was listening to this audiobook. And in the audiobook, it was Lone Survivor. If you've seen the movie.
That is a great movie.
Yeah.
I haven't read the book.
The book is it's one of those occurrences where there's a few scenes where the movie doesn't do the book justice. And it's Marcus Luttrell, and it's the movie with Mark Wahlberg about the 4 guys who got ambushed by 200 Taliban. And one guy, Michael Murphy from Patchogue, the town where I live in, he walked out and took a bunch of fire just so he could get a reception on his phone to call him for help to save his other 3 brothers, right? So that's selfless. And I'm running and I'm crying because I get emotional when I'm tired. And 7 miles is my limit, the most I've ran. And I thought, this was during COVID, by the way. This is not 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Right.
10 years ago. So I remember listening to this going like, if that's what they did and you're going to bitch at 7 miles, let's see what you got. Let me see what you can do. I'm running a field, not anywhere on open roads, not at a high school track. It's a field right by my house. And 7 quickly and easily turned into 10. 10 turned into 15. And then I stopped because I had to go watch a movie with my son.
So is this what triggered the whole run over this prior summer?
Yeah. And then I thought, how much have I been leaving on the table? So then I said, I'm going to sign up for the New York Marathon. Trained for the New York Marathon. I did it in November, which is all virtual.
Right.
Did it in November. Then I did another one in October and another one in December. After December, I ran a marathon a week and I said, fuck it. I'm going to try push myself to run 100 miles. And I ran over half it. I failed. As you know, I got hypothermia. Then I went back 3 weeks later and I did it again and I completed it.
And you did it around a track in a circle.
In a circle.
100 miles on a circle, nonstop, folks. Just want to let you know that.
But that's not that. And people go, I don't know how you do it. Because I'm trying to build myself up as a person. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm not out there trying to just do. What kind of fucking lunatic wants to run 100 miles in a circle?
Right.
No one. I did it to try to build myself up again. So even though I have my wife, my kids to be around for, to be here for, if all else fails, I need to be there for me. Right. I need to do this guy a favor and be there for me.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And the problem with not being there for yourself is like I'm not good enough, right? But when you build yourself up, you know you're good enough. Invest in yourself, in not just hobbies, but invest in things that you're going to be just passionate about. Find the time to do it. People say there's not enough hours in a day. There's 24 of them.
Yep.
You can find one of those hours to build yourself up. No matter what it is, you can build, because every step you take when you're in depression, I'm not good enough. You take another step, I'm not good enough. The next step, I'm not good enough. The next step is probably your last one. The next step is over the edge. That's hypothetically and, literally.
Makes sense.
The key, I believe, is just build yourselves up. Don't take shit from anybody. Cut whatever is that's in your life that's negative, no matter what it is. If it's a friend that you've had since you were a child, but they're still negative and they're hurting you mentally, they're slowing you down. Now, motivation speeches are a different one, right? You'll hear, you know what I mean, like a David Goggins speech. You got to cut this motherfucker, right? It's not that. It's not about pushing yourself past the finish line.
It's not as easy as
this
that.
This is a different talk to you. This is get those people out of your life because it's only better for your health.
And let me and join a gym or join a boxing gym, right? As we have. I mean, shout out to Christian and Strong on Boxing. It's beyond just going to hit a bag and learning how to box. It's to me, that gym has been 20% learning how to box and 80% bonding and helping mentally wise, and the people around it that we at least were able to.
Something happened in his gym, and I said it to him before in some of his podcasts. Something happened in his gym that he's just attracted a bunch of people that are all shit cool.
Yep.
I was going to say none of them. There's not that many athletes in that gym. The ones that are athletes are damn good athletes.
Yep.
But it's not, man. It's something about the community that's over there, and it's so important to me.
Yeah,
that gym is, and the people in it,
and the people around it, and everybody there, I think, has gone through something in their life. You know, that's brought everybody together, and that's why we get together so well. It's like a bunch of brains that walked in there holding boxing mitts. You know, it's been a real life changer for me. I mean, even meeting you, I've ran. Haven't done a marathon yet. I'd like to.
Did your knee went out?
My knee went out, and that was twice, right over the 15-mile mark. But that since then, I remember I ran 2 miles with you. I'm like, I've never ran this much in my life, and then it went to. That day at the track where we did 10, and then I went from 10 to 15, and I ran that twice in my life, and that was huge for me.
That's
it just shows you. I mean, I probably should have trained it to run a little bit more, but it just shows what your mind can do, your body can do, and what good supporting group of people around you can do.
Yeah. So I just look at cut the people that are hurting you, cut the thing if you can.
Yep.
If your job's bringing you down, I know it's easier said than done, but try find another job. Try find an hour of the day to find another job. If you need training somewhere, then take that hour and get the training.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just cut the shit that's holding you down. That's bad for you.
Yep.
Just get rid of it. And like I said, just build up yourself to the point where you are worth fighting for, and get the help. The suicide hotline is out there. I know it sounds very final to say that. 911, your family and friends. There's so many support groups out there.
Do it. And it's been, I've been doing a little research on it too, since I knew that we were going to talk about it. And it's kind of scary just to even see from 2009 to now. That chart's going up. The suicides a year is going up. It's not going down. It hasn't been the same. It's going up.
Right.
I mean, since 2009 to now, it's basically doubled.
Yeah.
Which is wild. It's just wild to look at those charts. Fuck the numbers. Just look at the graphs going up. It doesn't matter. I mean, one's too many.
It's really okay to be not okay.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It really is okay to not be okay. And we all suffer from it. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with talking to somebody.
And here's the odds. Go ahead. Finish.
Go ahead.
The odds of you going to talk to somebody, I can go bring that up to somebody. You can. They're going through shit too. So it's not like that person going to be like, I wish I really. I know last episode I said, you could bring it up to somebody that really don't understand. But they're also going through shit too. So it's very hard. Maybe they don't understand exactly the shit that you're dealing with, but they're dealing with shit too. Everybody is dealing with something right now. And even if you guys are on two separate pages in the same book, just talking to somebody's going to help. It is. I mean, you deal with what you deal with. I deal with what I deal with. But even just doing this podcast alone we're on a second episode, has helped me mentally.
That's awesome.
You know,
that's great.
It's cool just to talk about it and bring it out there and have people watch it and listen to it. Because even listeners that we have now, I mean, it's north of 100, which may not be much, right? A lot of people, they may be like, that's not a lot, but that's north of 100 people that want to sit there and listen to us because they're going through shit too.
That's it. And to people at home, you know, to wives, girlfriends, partners, friends out there, you know, just keep asking. I said it the last episode, keep asking because you will never know what men are going through, what we're going through, because we're so fucking good at hiding it. Because that's what we've been trained to do since day one.
And that
stop crying, get up, what's wrong with you? From day one, you fall off your bike at 4 or 5. If you don't have the stabilize, what do you call them? Training wheels over here, we call them stabilizers in Ireland. You fall off your bike, you cut your knee or whatever. Get up, it's just a scratch.
It's just a scratch,
We've been trained, so we are way better than you.
And it's hiding it. So we are.
So we are the best at hiding it. So just check in.
Just check in. But if you have little kids, your father, your mother, check in with them as well.
Yeah, stop the cycle.
Tell them not to hide it. Stop the cycle, because it's amazing. Now, if can I bring up some facts real quick?
Go for it, please.
So it's just even reading this couple of articles here, just this chart alone, which I have read. This is, I guess, the Youth Risk Behavioral System, which is part of the Jason Foundation.org, I believe it is. So even just the ages of 10 to 12, this is beyond young boys. I guess this is everybody in general for the youth, which is pretty wild to me that between the ages of 10 and 24 that suicide is the second leading cause of death.
Yeah.
You know, those numbers are pretty crazy. I mean, it's the second leading cause of death for college age youth.
Right.
And ages 12 to 18.
And how many of them were like Kevin?
Right.
Where he didn't want to do it.
Didn't want to do it. And just halfway through, it's too late.
Right. I didn't want to do it. I just couldn't find a pen and paper.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's my point. If I had a pen and paper, maybe, you know, so all of those people, maybe they had their moment where they just wanted someone to reach out.
Right. And I've seen this viral thing going on Instagram lately too, which is pretty cool. People going around and it's just random people walking on the street and they're telling them, hey, you have a nice smile. Hey, you look really good. Hey, you look like you're from Hollywood. And just to see the smile on those people's faces, because who says that to anybody anymore? You know what I mean? I think, and a lot of them looks like it's going around in New York City streets, which is wild. But it just shows you that certain things like that, it's just people smile automatically because they're not used to hearing that.
Right.
You know?
I've started something in my gym and it's only with old men.
Okay.
I do it. I know every old man in that place. I just start talking to him. I don't go near the girls. No offense to the ladies, because I don't want to come across like he's a creep. But
just
I
the old
swear
men
to God,
thinking.
if you come with me one day to a Planet Fitness in the morning time, they cannot walk by the Stairmaster without touching my leg, give me a fist bump, because I'm the guy that goes over and talks to him. And like, you know, I run further because of you. You told me 1%, you know, just like the Coach Dakota would tell, like 1%. Like, that's all you got to do, man. And I walk in that gym, fist pumping. I don't know, make sure it's fist, not fisting, but a fist pumping. I leave the girls alone. But it's funny now. I walk in, the girls kind of go, "Hey," just like nice, "Hey," because like that's the guy that all the old people.
Well, the old people, but those old guys that are walking in are probably so happy to have somebody like you who talks to them because they've grown up in rough times and they've grown up during that part too, where it's just like be a man. You know what I mean? So to see somebody even have any interest or care or tell them, "Hey, man, just do this to push them," people love it. It's not an age thing. It's a mental thing for anybody.
If you treat everybody, and I guess I'll end it on this, which for me at least. If you treat everybody with kindness, and I started doing this, and I couldn't do it beforehand because I was angry, like I said earlier, I was self-destructive.
Right.
I surrounded myself with the wrong people, and I did, you know, the wrong things, and I was angry, and I fought with everybody, and I would, you know, I would cut you off in traffic, and I would just everything. Like if I opened the door, I'd run in ahead of you because I didn't want to be, you know, I do a joke about it on stage, you know, I run in ahead of you and stuff, but now I'm just the kindest guy and I feel great for doing it. You know, I feel great. And I think if you look for the good in everybody, I was with my wife and my son. We were driving through Taco Bell. I don't eat it. I hate Taco Bell. Mm-hmm. We were driving through and there was a guy, and I never carry cash, right? And this amazed me one time. I saw this done somewhere, probably on Instagram years ago. And I said, let me try it. Ordered, pop the window, please. Now I handed the guy cash. This was foreign to me. My brain didn't know how to wait for change. Because I always swipe my debit card. So my brain didn't wait does that make sense? Like my brain wasn't expecting change to be handed back into my hand.
Right.
So
it makes sense.
Give him the money, whatever it was, the 20, the 50, whatever it was. And the guy was like, do you want the nickel? Now don't make a joke, but do you want the nickel back? Right. And I was kind of like, what? Like I didn't understand that he was asking me how did I want to change back? Because my brain for years hasn't handled cash. Right? I can't remember last time I paid for anything with cash. And he's like, hello, do you? And it was a kid, like a teenager, and he was overweight and he was just fucking nasty. Now, the old me would have pulled him through the little window, right?
I tried to.
But I go, I'm so sorry, man. I forgot. I zoned out. Sorry about that. And I just said to him when he handed me, he's like, are you okay? He's like, what? I was like, are you okay? You doing all right? Like, just like that. Not in like, are you okay? And this grumpy face, I sort of got, my wife was my witness. He just went really sad. He went, no, but thanks for asking.
Really?
Dude, and I was like, I was blown away. I was just blown away. And it was like, it was just around the time when I was starting to feel better about myself. Right. Therapy was kicking in and I had unleashed this fucking demon I'd been carrying around for me for so long. And I just had this urge to make sure nobody goes through what I went through. Right. And I asked that guy, I'm like, man, people are just suffering out there.
They are.
People are suffering out there. And I just felt good. You know, so, I mean, that's all I got to say about it. But I just think, do you want to say anything before we wrap it up?
No, I that, as you said, that shows that a lot of people out there have angst and anger and, right? I mean, I don't know if that's one of the same thing. I'm bad with big words, but odds are they're going through something, you know, behind the scenes. That's the reason why they're so angry and so mad all the time.
Everybody is.
And kindness does get a lot further out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
goes a lot further.
Yep.
What's that old saying that the grandmothers would say to their girls, their daughters or their granddaughters?
Oh, you would know better than me.
How do I know what grandmothers say to their daughters?
Because you know you're good with the old guys at the gym.
Yeah, that's true. You catch more bees with honey than vinegar.
And vinegar or something like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But anyway, yeah. So again, guys, if you need help, by all means, and also email us. I'm qualified. If you want to have a chat, if you want us to read your email out here, we won't name you if you don't want to.
Yes, that'd be great. Send stuff in.
We'll discuss your situation.
Yep.
And I'll do the best we can with it. Email us at ihavemensity.com. I guess mensity.com was taken.
Mensity it was someone. I think it's some country overseas has it or something. I looked into it. Believe me, I tried.
But guys, there's plenty of resources out there. Again, the suicide hotline. Look it up. Again, number across the bottom.
The bottom.
For America, if you're listening overseas, find out what your number is. Also, your local police, your church. Even if you're not a man or woman of faith. Go to your local church.
Go to your local boxing gym. Go to your local, a gym like that, because I know they have the gyms, Planet Fitness you can join, but go to a boxing gym. Go to where there's, a group of people that you're going to end up seeing almost every day or every other day that is going through shit as well. And you guys become your own support group.
And when you go to a gym, nobody looks down on you. If you're at a bad level, if you're at a beginner's level, the pros are not going to look down and laugh.
No.
Because they know what it's like. But listen, reach out to, and lads, don't be afraid to reach out to your women, and women, don't be afraid to ask.
Yep.
All right.
And go follow at ihavemensity on Instagram.
Yeah, we're going to post a lot more stuff up there. Message us there. You can message us there if you want to.
There too.
If you don't want to send us on that long email. But anyway, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.